AITA for taking my uncle's inheritance. My grandmother was such a kind soul. She would help anyone who asked, no question asked. It was no secret within our family that my grandmother was well off. This combination of not wanting financially and kindness had led to people taking advantage of her. No one takes advantage of her more than my uncle. My uncle was always asking for money to be in school, be it for school, rent, or a high ticket item he wanted. My dad would put a stop to it, but after he passed, it got more worse. My uncle got more aggressive when it came to asking for handouts. He made her co sign for both a new Jeep and a home for him and his wife. The home in question was a massive 2400 square feet home. By no means could they have this home. She signed against threats to have her grandchildren cut off. Now, whenever my aunt or uncle wanted a new TV or wanted to go on vacation, they just would not pay their bills and let it fall on my grandma to pay. His kids were taught, if you want anything, don't ask me, go see grandma. As they got older, they started to treat her just as poorly. As my grandmother got older, we started to encourage her to move to a community where her close friends were. My uncle had other plans, though by this time his kids were getting older, so they pressured her when she was over 80 to sell her current home and get another mortgage in the city so that his kids would have a free place to stay as they went to school. She bought the house my uncle instructed, which of course was a large 5 bedroom house for him to visit and his kids and her. This is when my grandmother finally stopped supporting him financially. She was miserable in that house, and as his kids started to move in, she had to do everything for them. My grandmother threatened my uncle for the first time. I'm not entirely sure what was said, but after that, he made his own mortgage payment by taking out a second mortgage. One day, my grandmother invited me for a visit. We went and had a great time catching up. Then, near the end, my grandmother explained that a change was being made in her will and my uncle was no longer getting anything she owned. She said she felt like she had already given him his inheritance. With my dad passed, it will come to me. She only gave me two conditions: don't tell anyone and don't give a cent to my uncle. When she did pass, and as she said everything was in my name, my uncle was calling me furious, going on and on about how that was his money and his family was counting on it to support themselves, and as my grandmother said, I didn't give in. I started to charge rent to his kids who were staying in the city. Only half of what I could, but they still acted like I was robbing them. My uncle, aunt, and his kids have been calling me a cheat and saying I stole their inheritance. He demands it anytime we meet and says they can't keep up with all their payments and I should help family first like grandma did. I still refuse to help at all.